Maya Walker walked into the school hallway with her books held tightly to her chest. She was a quiet black girl who did not like attention. She preferred sitting in the back of the classroom where no one noticed her. Every morning she hoped it would be a good day, but today something felt different. The air around her felt heavy, and she did not know why. When she entered her music class, she sat in her usual seat, hoping the teacher would leave her alone. Mr. Harrison, the music teacher, was already in a bad mood. He threw his papers on the desk and sighed loudly as if the whole world annoyed him. He often ignored Maya in class, and when he spoke to her, it was usually to correct her or make her feel small. Maya never understood why. But she tried her best to stay quiet and avoid trouble. As the bell rang, students settled, but Mr. Harrison's eyes searched the room until they landed on Maya. He pointed sharply at her and said, "You, come here." The classroom became silent. Everyone stared. Maya felt her stomach twist. She stood slowly and walked toward the piano with shaky hands. Mr. Harrison said loudly so the whole class could hear, "Today Maya will play something for us." His tone was filled with sarcasm. Several students snickered. Maya lowered her eyes as her heart beat fast. She had never played in front of the whole class before. She practiced at home every night, but public performance scared her. She sat down at the piano bench with her fingers trembling slightly. "Let's see what you can do, mister," Harrison whispered sharply, just loud enough for others to hear. Maya felt a sting of humiliation. He was not trying to teach her. He wanted to embarrass her. She knew it. And the class knew it too. Maya took a slow breath. She remembered her mother telling her, "Don't let anyone tell you who you are." She placed her fingers on the piano keys. The keys felt cold under her touch. The classroom was silent, except for the sound of her breathing. She closed her eyes, trying to block out the whispers and the mocking smiles. In her mind, she heard a melody she practiced at home. It was her grandfather's favorite song. She had taught herself how to play it after he passed away. Every note reminded her of him sitting on the porch, humming it softly. Thinking about him gave her strength. It reminded her she had something inside her that no one could take away. She pressed the first key gently. Then another. The sound filled the room, soft and steady. Her fingers began to move with more confidence as the melody flowed. The students who expected a mistake were shocked. Their smiles faded. Their eyes widened. The room grew even quieter. Maya continued playing. Her hands moving smoothly across the keys. She did not rush. She did not hesitate. She played with emotion, pouring her heart into every note. For the first time ever, she forgot about the class, the teacher, and the fear. The music took control. Guiding her hands like water flowing in a river, Mr. Harrison's face tightened. He had expected her to fail. He wanted to show the class that she lacked talent. But what he heard now was something he had not imagined. The melody was beautiful, heartfelt, and played with surprising skill. Each note carried emotion, confidence, and truth. Maya's truth. When she reached the final part of the song, her fingers danced lightly, ending with a soft, lingering chord that hung in the air like a warm breeze. The classroom stayed silent. No one laughed. No one whispered. They all stared at her in shock. Maya slowly lifted her hands from the keys. She opened her eyes and looked around. The class was frozen. Their faces showed disbelief, amazement, and confusion. Maya felt her chest rise with quiet pride. She had done something none of them expected. She had shown her talent without saying a single word. Mr. Harrison opened his mouth, but no words came out. His plan to humiliate her had failed completely. Maya had turned his cruelty into a moment of strength. Her music had spoken louder than anything he could ever say. She stood up gently from the bench, her legs still shaking. But something inside her had changed. For the first time, she felt seen, truly seen. Not as the quiet girl he could mock, but as someone with real talent, real courage, and real power. And that day, the whole class learned something they would never forget. Maya Walker was far stronger than she appeared. After Maya finished playing, she walked back to her seat quietly. Her classmates watched her with wide eyes as she passed. Some whispered, some stared. But no one laughed anymore. Maya kept her head down. Trying to calm her racing heartbeat, She still felt the vibration of the piano keys on her fingertips. It was as if the music was still inside her, gently echoing. Mr. Harrison stood frozen at the front of the room. His face was stiff, his jaw tight, and his hands gripping the edge of the piano too hard. He had never expected Maya to play like that, and the shock bruised his pride when he finally spoke. His voice cracked slightly. "All right. Next student," he said quickly, trying to act normal, but everyone could see he was shaken. Maya sat in her seat, trying not to draw attention, but attention found her anyway. A girl next to her whispered, "That was amazing." Maya looked up, surprised. The girl smiled shyly. "You're really talented, Maya," whispered a soft thank you, feeling a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. Someone had finally seen her for something good, but not everyone reacted kindly. 3 boys in the back row stared at her with annoyed expressions. They were used to being the best in music class, and Maya's sudden talent felt like an unwelcome spotlight. One of them muttered loud enough for others to hear, "She probably got lucky." Another one snorted, "Bet she practiced some simple kid song." They tried to make it sound like her performance wasn't a big deal, but their voices trembled slightly. Maya noticed, but she stayed silent when class ended. Students spilled into the hallway with excitement the moment they left the room. Whispers spread like wildfire. "Did you hear Maya play? She was actually good. Even Mr. Harrison didn't know what to do. She shocked everyone." Maya heard bits and pieces as she walked to her locker. She felt embarrassed, but also proud. It was strange to feel both things at the same time as she opened her locker. Her friend Lena ran up to her, breathless. "Maya, everybody's talking about you," she said. "You played so well." Maya smiled shyly. "Thank you," she whispered. Lena hugged her quickly. "You should play at the school talent show," she said excitedly. Maya's eyes widened. No, I can't do that," she said quickly. "I don't like being in front of people," Lena laughed. "But you already did it today," before Maya could reply. She saw Mr. Harrison walking down the hallway. His jaw tight, his eyes cold. He looked right at her, but didn't say a word. His steps were sharp and fast. He seemed upset, not impressed. Maya felt a little chill travel through her. She knew he wasn't done with her. Something told her that this moment, this surprise performance, had changed something inside him, something dark and angry. During lunch, the cafeteria buzzed with more rumors. Maya's name was on many lips. She embarrassed Mr. Harrison without even trying, a student said. "Did you see his face? He looked like he swallowed a lemon," someone else joked. Maya sat at her table quietly, eating slowly. She didn't want anyone to think she was proud or showing off. She just wanted everything to go back to normal. But something new happened that afternoon. When Maya walked into her next class, the teacher paused and said, "I heard you played beautifully this morning." Maya's cheeks warmed. She only nodded. Word was spreading faster than she could keep up with. And for once, it wasn't something negative. It was something good. But good things sometimes brought problems too. After school, Maya walked toward the exit when she suddenly heard her name. "Maya," the voice came from behind her. She turned and saw Mr. Harrison standing near the door, his arms crossed. His face unreadable. She froze, unsure what he wanted. He walked closer, lowering his voice so others couldn't hear. "Meet me in the music room tomorrow before class," he said. His tone wasn't friendly, it was sharp and cold. Maya swallowed nervously. "Why?" she asked softly. Mr. Harrison's expression darkened. "Because we need to talk about your performance," he replied. Then he walked away before she could say anything else. Maya stood there, confused and a little scared. What did he want to talk about? Was he angry because she proved him wrong in front of everyone? Was he planning to punish her or embarrass her again? Her mind filled with questions, none of them comforting, as she walked home. Her thoughts were heavy. She held her backpack straps tightly, wondering what tomorrow would bring, but deep inside, under the fear, there was a tiny spark of strength. She had played beautifully, and no one could take that away from her, not even Mr. Harrison still. She knew the next day would be important, a turning point, maybe a dangerous one, and she wasn't sure she was ready for it. The next morning, Maya woke up early. She barely slept because her mind kept replaying Mr. Harrison's cold voice telling her to meet him. She brushed her hair quietly, packed her books, and walked to school with heavy steps. The air was cool, and the sky still looked sleepy, just like she felt inside when she arrived at the school building. The hallways were almost empty, only a few students were there this early. Maya walked toward the music room with her heart beating fast. She paused outside the door for a moment. Trying to breathe slowly, she pushed the door open gently. Mr. Harrison was already there, standing by the piano with his arms crossed. He didn't greet her, he didn't smile. He looked at her the same way someone looks at a puzzle they couldn't solve. Maya stood still, waiting. "Sit," he finally said. Pointing at the chair near the piano, Maya obeyed quietly. He paced back and forth for a moment before turning to her. "Where did you learn to play like that?" he asked. His tone wasn't kind or curious. It was sharp, suspicious. Maya blinked in confusion. "At home," she said softly. "I practiced every day," Mr. Harrison frowned. "No one plays like that without training," he snapped. "Who taught you?" "Which teacher?" "No one," Maya whispered. "I taught myself." He stared at her as if he didn't believe a single word. His ego refused to accept that a girl he underestimated could produce such a beautiful performance without professional lessons. His voice grew cold. "Do not lie to me." Maya felt a small sting in her chest. She didn't know what to say. She wasn't lying. But he was treating her like a problem he needed to fix, not a student he needed to teach. She lowered her eyes, wishing she could disappear for a moment. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the air conditioner. Then Mr. Harrison spoke again. "Play the same piece you played yesterday," he ordered. "I want to see it again." Maya hesitated but nodded. She sat at the piano, adjusting the bench. The keys felt cold under her fingertips again, but this time, she wasn't playing for herself or for her grandfather's memory. She was playing under someone's doubt. Someone's anger. It felt heavier, still. She placed her hands on the keys and began. The melody flowed, but it carried a different weight today. It was quieter, more controlled, but still beautiful. Mr. Harrison leaned forward. Watching her hands closely, his expression softened for just a second. But then he pulled back sharply as if he didn't want to admit anything. When she finished the last chord, she turned to look at him, hoping he would say something kind, but he didn't. He said, "Again." She blinked in surprise again. She whispered. He nodded sharply, so she played again. Her fingers moved across the keys, but her arms started to feel tired. Her heart felt heavy. He listened, criticizing her posture. Her hand position, even her breathing. "You're doing it wrong," he said. "That's sloppy, you're rushing." Each comment chipped at her confidence. Maya swallowed the hurt, remembering her mother's voice telling her to stay strong. But she also felt something inside her dimming, like a small flame losing its air. After almost 15 minutes, he finally stopped her. He rubbed his forehead, pacing again. "This doesn't make sense," he muttered. "Your technique is messy, but your sound is clean. Your hands are untrained, yet your emotion is advanced." Maya wasn't sure if that was supposed to be a compliment or another insult. He suddenly turned to her and asked, "Why do you play? What makes you sit at home and practice every day?" Maya hesitated, not sure if he really wanted to hear her reason. But she answered anyway. "My grandfather," she whispered. "He used to hum songs. And after he passed away, I wanted to play them. It made me feel close to him, Mr." Harrison stared at her silently, his expression unreadable. Something in his eyes flickered for a brief second. Maybe surprise, maybe discomfort. But it vanished quickly. He sighed. "Go," he said quietly. "You can leave." Maya stood up slowly. She walked toward the door, but before she reached it, he added, "Come to the music room after school today." His tone wasn't angry this time. But it wasn't warm either. It was more like a command he didn't bother explaining. Maya nodded, though her heart felt heavy. She stepped into the hallway with mixed feelings, fear, confusion, but also a strange spark of something else she couldn't name yet. Throughout the day, whispers continued about her piano performance. Students looked at her differently, some with respect, some with curiosity, some with envy. Maya tried to stay quiet, focusing on her classes. But her mind kept going back to the music room and Mr. Murr. Harrison's strange demand when the final bell rang. She took a deep breath and headed toward the music room again. Her whole life felt like it was changing. Note by note, moment by moment, and deep inside, she sensed one thing clearly: her talent was no longer a secret. And soon, even bigger truths would come to light. After the final bell rang, students rushed out of the school like birds escaping a cage. But Maya walked slowly toward the music room. Every step felt heavy, her heart beat loud in her chest. She didn't know what Mr. Harrison wanted this time. But she knew it wouldn't be simple when she reached the music room door. She paused. The hallway was quiet, only a faint echo of voices from the far end. She took a deep breath and opened the door. The room was dim, except for the soft light coming from the window. Mr. Harrison stood near the piano. But he wasn't alone today. A woman sat on one of the chairs. She had short gray hair, glasses, and a soft but serious expression. Her hands were folded neatly on her lap. She looked like someone important. Maya froze. Unsure who she was or why she was there, Mr. Harrison turned toward Maya, his face unreadable. "Come in," he said. She stepped inside quietly and closed the door behind her. The woman looked at her with gentle eyes. "Hello, Maya," she said in a warm voice. "I've heard something special about you," Maya blinked, confused. "Who are you?" she asked softly. The woman smiled. "My name is Eames Andrews," she said. "I teach advanced piano at the district arts program." Maya's eyes widened slightly. She had heard of that program. It was known for training some of the best young musicians in the city. Mr. Harrison cleared his throat. "I called Ms. Andrews here," he said stiffly. "I told her about your performance yesterday." Maya stared at him, surprised. She didn't know whether to feel grateful or suspicious. He hadn't acted like he wanted to help her earlier. He acted angry, annoyed, and threatened. Ms. Andrews stood up and walked toward the piano. "Maya, dear, would you mind playing something for me?" she asked kindly. Maya hesitated. Her hands felt cold. "Right now?" she whispered. Ms. Andrews nodded gently. "Yes." "Anything you're comfortable with?" Maya glanced at Mr. Harrison, expecting a harsh look, but his expression was strangely blank. She took a slow breath and sat at the piano bench. Her fingers hovered over the keys. She didn't know what to play. But then she thought of her grandfather again. She began the same melody she played before. Soft, warm, full of emotion. Ms. Andrews listened without blinking. Her eyes softened with every note. She stepped closer, noticing the way Maya moved her fingers, the way she breathed with the rhythm, and when the final chord hung gently in the air, Ms. Andrews placed her hand over her heart. "That," she said softly, "was beautiful." Maya looked down shyly. "Thank you," she whispered. Ms. Andrews sat beside her on the bench. "Tell me, child," she said, "who taught you to play like this?" Maya shook her head. "No one," she said. "I watched videos, listened to music, and practiced at home." Ms. Andrews smiled proudly. "Self-taught musicians often play with the most heart." Mr. Harrison shifted uncomfortably behind them, his hands clasped behind his back. He was not used to being silent in his own classroom. Ms. Andrews continued. "Maya, I want you to join my advanced program," she said gently. "We only accept a few students." "But you have something rare?" Maya felt her chest tighten. "Me?" she whispered, "but I don't have money for lessons." Her voice trembled with embarrassment. Ms. Andrews shook her head immediately. "No child with your talent should be denied an opportunity," she said. "Your tuition will be waived." Maya's eyes filled with tears she tried to hide. She had never imagined someone would see her this way. Someone who didn't mock her, ignore her, or doubt her. Mr. Harrison coughed lightly. "Is that really necessary?" he asked, trying to sound neutral. "EMS." Andrews turned toward him sharply. "Oh, absolutely," she said. "This girl plays with more emotion than half the trained students I know, Mr. G." Harrison stiffened, embarrassed. She looked back at Maya. "But there's something more I need to know," she said softly. "When you play, where does all that emotion come from?" Maya hesitated before answering. She felt her throat tighten. "My grandfather," she whispered. "I play the songs he used to hum, Ms. Andrews nodded with deep understanding. Then you're not just playing music, she said. You are remembering someone you loved. Maya wiped the corner of her eye. Embarrassed, Ms. Andrews gently placed a hand on her shoulder. Your talent is a gift, she said, but your heart, that is what makes your music powerful. Before leaving, Ms. Andrews handed Maya a small card. Bring this to the art center on Saturday, she said. We will begin your training. Maya took the card carefully, like it was something precious. She never imagined a door like this would open for her. After Ms. Andrews left the room, Maya turned to see Mr. Harrison watching her. His face was tense, almost guilty. He looked away quickly. Class starts soon, he muttered. You should go. But Maya knew something had changed. Something big, something scary, something beautiful. And for the first time, she walked out of the music room, feeling like her life was leading somewhere new, somewhere brighter than she had ever allowed herself to imagine. For the next few days, the whole school buzzed with excitement about Maya's new opportunity. Students whispered in the hallways, teachers looked at her with curiosity, and even the principal stopped her once to say he had heard good things. Maya felt shy under all the attention, but inside her heart glowed softly like a small light she had carried alone for years. Finally seen by others, but where light grows, shadows also appear, and in Maya's case, the shadows were 3 boys from her music class. The same ones who felt threatened the day she first played. Their names were Tyler, Mason, and Drew. They had always been praised for their piano skills. They were used to being called the best, so when Maya suddenly outshone them, their pride cracked like thin glass one afternoon at lunch. Tyler slammed his tray on the table and said, I don't get it. How is she suddenly good? Mason shrugged angrily. She probably lied. Drew leaned in, lowering his voice. What if she didn't? What if she's actually better than us? The words tasted bitter to him. All 3 of them stiffened, refusing to accept it. Over the next few days, they watched Maya. Whispering whenever she walked by, their jealousy grew quietly, spreading like smoke, but Maya didn't notice. She was too busy practicing after school, preparing for Ms. Andrews' program every day. She stayed in the music room, sometimes playing softly, sometimes pouring her whole heart into the keys. The piano became her safe place, her escape, her world. But one Thursday afternoon, something changed. When she arrived at the music room after classes, she found the door slightly open inside. The piano bench was pulled out, papers were scattered across the floor, and the piano lid was lifted as she stepped closer. A cold feeling crept up her spine. Her sheet music, the pages she had been using to prepare, was torn, ripped into uneven pieces, thrown across the floor like trash. Maya froze, staring at the shredded pages. Her heart sank painfully. She knelt slowly. Picking up the pieces with trembling hands, she felt her eyes burning. But she refused to cry, not yet, just then. She heard laughter outside the door. Low and mocking, she turned her head and saw Tyler, Mason, and Drew standing in the hallway. Their smirks told her everything. Maya didn't need to ask. Tyler crossed his arms. Oops, he said sarcastically. Looks like someone's music got ruined, Mason added. Maybe you're not ready for that fancy program after all. Drew leaned against the wall. You should leave music to people who actually belong here. The words stung like sharp thorns. Maya swallowed hard, forcing strength into her voice. Why would you do this? She whispered. Tyler rolled his eyes. Why not? He snapped. Everyone acts like you're some kind of genius now. You're not. Mason kicked a piece of torn paper toward her. You just got lucky once, Drew muttered. You don't deserve all this attention. Maya didn't answer. She couldn't. Her throat felt tight, and her hands shook as she clutched the ripped sheets. The boys walked away laughing, leaving her kneeling on the floor, broken pieces of paper all around her like pieces of her own heart. A few minutes later, Mr. Harrison stepped into the room. His face hardened when he saw the mess. What happened here? He demanded. Maya looked up, eyes glossy, but determined not to cry. Someone tore my sheets, she whispered. Mr. Harrison stiffened. Who? He asked sharply. She hesitated. She knew who it was. But she also knew how it would sound, accusing the three boys he had always praised. The boys he believed were serious musicians. But before she could speak, he shook his head. "Never mind," he said quickly. "It doesn't matter." Maya stared at him, confused and hurt again. He continued. "Sheet music can be replaced," he said, with a dismissive wave. "Focus on playing." She wanted to tell him it wasn't just paper. It was her hard work, her progress, her hope. But he didn't give her the chance. He simply began organizing his own desk, ending the conversation entirely. Maya gathered every torn piece and placed them gently in her bag. At home, she sat on her bed, trying to tape the sheets back together, but many parts were missing. She stared at the jagged lines of tape and paper. Her eyes finally overflowing, she cried quietly, trying to muffle the sound so her mother wouldn't worry. The tears weren't just for the ruined pages. They were for the unfairness, the jealousy, the silence from her teacher, the weight on her shoulders. But in the middle of her tears, she heard a small memory, her grandfather's voice. Warm and steady, play with your heart. "Little one," he always said, "paper helps. But music lives in you." She wiped her eyes slowly. She placed her hands on her lap. Breathing deeply, her sheet music was gone. But the melody wasn't. It was still inside her. She knew it by heart. She had played it 100 times, maybe more, and right then, Maya made a quiet promise to herself: no matter what they tore, no matter what they mocked, no matter who doubted her, she would keep playing. Her music would not be silenced. Not by jealous boys, not by fear, not by anyone. Saturday morning arrived faster than Maya expected. She woke up early, her heart pounding with nervous energy. Today was her first day at the District Arts Center, the place Ms. Andrews invited her to. She held the small card, Ms. Andrews gave her as if it were something fragile, something magical. Her mother smiled proudly as Maya left the house, saying, "Go show them who you are at the Arts Center." Everything felt different from school. The halls were quiet, wide, and filled with the distant sound of instruments warming up. Maya walked slowly, amazed by the shiny floors, the posters of young musicians, the grand piano visible through a half-open door. She felt both excited and terrified. Ms. Andrews met her near the entrance. Smiling warmly, "I'm glad you're here." "Maya," she said, "today, I want to hear you play in a real practice room." She guided Maya into a bright space with a polished piano. Maya sat down, took a breath, and started playing the melody from her heart, the one she knew better than anything else. Ms. Andrews listened closely, nodding with every note. "You play with emotion most trained students never reach," she said kindly. Maya felt a proud warmth rise in her chest. For a moment, she felt like she truly belonged in this place. But while she was at the Art Center, something else was happening back at school. A rumor was spreading that Maya would be performing for a small school showcase on Monday. It wasn't an official event, but teachers and students planned to gather to watch a few selected students perform. Normally, Tyler, Mason, and Drew would be at the top of the list, but this time, everyone whispered Maya's name instead. By Monday morning, the air at school felt electric. Students filled the auditorium, teachers took their seats, and even the principal came to watch. Tyler, Mason, and Drew sat together, their arms crossed, their faces tight with irritation. They had worked all weekend on their pieces, pushing themselves harder than ever, because they were determined not to let Maya outshine them again. Backstage, Maya sat on a small bench, her hands folded tightly. She didn't know she would be asked to perform. Her name had been added without her knowing. Mr. Harrison approached her, his expression sharp. "You're playing today," he said. "Don't make a mistake." His tone made her heart jump. But she nodded quietly. She didn't want to argue. When the showcase began, Tyler played first. His piece was loud, fast, and full of confidence. The audience clapped politely. Mason and Drew followed, their performances clean and practiced. But something was missing. Their music felt empty, like something done to impress, not to feel. Then it was Maya's turn. She stepped onto the stage slowly, the lights warm and bright on her skin. The piano looked bigger than she remembered. Her legs trembled as she sat down. She closed her eyes, took a long breath, and softly placed her fingers on the keys. She began to play, gently at first, like a whisper. Her melody rose and fell like a soft wave. Carrying memories, love, and loss, the audience went silent. Maya wasn't playing to impress them. She wasn't even playing for Mr. Harrison. She played for her grandfather, for herself, for the music inside her heart. As she continued, the auditorium felt different. Students leaned forward. Teachers stopped checking their phones. Even Tyler, Mason, and Drew sat frozen, watching her in disbelief. This wasn't luck. This wasn't an accident. This was talent deeper than technique. Talent that no jealousy could erase. Halfway through the piece, something surprising happened. The principal whispered to a teacher near him. Pointing at Maya with amazement, teachers exchanged looks. Impressed, some even smiled warmly, recognizing something rare happening on that stage. But no one looked more stunned than Mr. Harrison, his eyes widened, his face pale. He saw something he had refused to see before. Real talent. In all his years of teaching, he had taught dozens of students, but none played with the raw emotion, the honesty, the soul that Maya carried in every note when she finished the last chord. The room remained silent for a heartbeat. Then applause erupted, loud and heartfelt. Maya blinked, shocked. She wasn't used to this kind of attention. She slowly stood up, bowing shyly, her cheeks warm, her heart full. But something else happened, too, as the applause continued. Ms. Andrews suddenly walked into the auditorium. She had come to speak with the principal. But when she heard Maya's name being announced, she rushed to watch. She stood at the doorway, hand over her heart, tears gathering in her eyes as she listened. When Maya left the stage, Ms. Andrews met her backstage, pulling her into a soft embrace. "You were magnificent, Maya," she whispered. "I'm proud of you, Maya." Felt tears prick her eyes. But she smiled, grateful and overwhelmed. But while everyone celebrated her, one person stood in the corner. Burning with silent shame, Mr. Harrison, he finally understood the truth he didn't want to see. He had tried to belittle a child who possessed a gift far greater than anything he had expected. And now the whole school knew it. The day after the showcase, the school felt different. Students looked at Maya with admiration instead of curiosity. Teachers smiled at her warmly. Some even stopped her in the hallway to say they had never seen a performance so full of emotion. Maya felt shy but grateful. A gentle pride sat in her heart like a small glowing light. But not everyone walked around calmly that morning, Mr. Harrison stood inside the music room with restless steps, his face pale, his thoughts tangled. He had barely slept. The sound of Maya's performance echoed in his mind again and again. It was a sound he couldn't ignore anymore, a sound that revealed his own blindness. He had been unfair, cruel, and careless. And now the whole school knew it too. Meanwhile, Maya walked to class with her books held close. She didn't want attention. She wanted peace. But peace didn't come right away as she approached the music room for her morning class. She noticed Tyler, Mason, and Drew standing near the door. They weren't smirking today. Their faces looked stiff, uncertain, almost guilty when Maya got closer. Tyler cleared his throat. "Hey, Maya," he said softly. Maya froze. She didn't know what he wanted. Mason looked down at his shoes. Drew ran a hand through his hair nervously. Finally, Mason spoke. "We saw you play yesterday," he said. "You were really good." His voice cracked. As if the words hurt his pride, Drew nodded slowly. "Yeah, better than us," he admitted. The world seemed to pause for a moment. Maya wasn't expecting this. She didn't know whether to forgive them or stay silent. But before she could respond, Tyler stepped forward. He took a deep breath. "We're sorry," he said, "for your music sheets." And everything else, the apology surprised her. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't full of emotion. But it was real. Maya looked at them quietly. "Why did you do it?" She finally asked. Tyler swallowed hard. "Because we were jealous," he admitted. "You played better than us, and we didn't want to accept it," Mason added. "It won't happen again." Maya nodded slowly. She didn't smile, but she didn't turn away either. "Thank you," she said softly. They stepped aside to let her enter the classroom. The moment felt like a small piece of healing. A tiny stitch closing an old wound inside the music room. Mr. Harrison stood stiffly near the piano. When Maya walked in, he cleared his throat. "Trying to steady his voice, Maya," he said softly. She looked up at him, unsure what was coming. The room felt too quiet, like it was waiting for something important. "I need to speak to you," he said. His voice had none of the sharpness she was used to. He took a slow breath. "I owe you an apology." Maya blinked. Surprised, Mr. Harrison's face tightened with regret. "I misjudged you," he admitted. "I doubted you. And I treated you unfairly." He looked away briefly. "Then back at her, your performance yesterday showed me something I should have seen long ago," he continued. "You have a gift, Maya, a real one, and I'm sorry for not supporting you." His voice softened. "I let my pride get in the way." Maya didn't know what to say. She had waited so long to hear words like this, words of respect instead of criticism. She felt her throat tighten, but she stayed calm. "Thank you," she whispered, and for the first time. The words didn't feel small or shy. They felt strong, steady, deserved. Mr. Harrison nodded slowly. "If you ever need extra practice time or help preparing for Ms. Andrews' program, the room is yours," he said gently. His tone was sincere. Maya realized something quietly. Even people who hurt her could change. Even hearts that refused to see her could finally open. A few days later, Ms. Andrews invited Maya to the Arts Center again. This time, she guided her into a room with a grand piano bigger than any Maya had touched before. The light from the windows filled the space like soft gold. Ms. Andrews smiled. "I have something important to tell you," she said warmly. Maya stood still, her heart thumping with nervous hope. Ms. Andrews continued. "I spoke with the director of the State Youth Music Program," she said. "They watched a recording of your performance." Maya gasped softly, confused. "Recording?" She whispered. Ms. Andrews nodded. "Your principal sent it to them." She placed her hands gently on Maya's shoulders. "They want to offer you a scholarship," she said. "Full training, full support, full opportunity." Maya covered her mouth with both hands, tears filling her eyes. "Me?" she whispered. "Are you sure?" Ms. Andrews smiled proudly. "Absolutely, child," she said. "They see what I see." Maya looked at the piano. Then at her hands, the very hands people once mocked. The hands that played in fear, in secret, in hope. She felt her grandfather's memory warm in her heart, as if he were whispering, "Keep going," in that moment. Maya understood something powerful. Her music wasn't just talent. It was strength. It was healing. It was her voice in a world that tried to silence her. And now, the world wasn't silencing her anymore. It was listening. It was opening. It was finally giving her the chance she always deserved.